I'm sure that everyone who's watching this has replayed their favorite game at least once or twice. In fact, you've probably replayed multiple games. For example, earlier this year I replayed a game called Doom Eternal, and even more recently I revisited one of my childhood games, New Super Mario Bros. Over the years, I've done my fair share of replaying video games, but the question is, should you replay them at all, and if so, how often? I know this question sounds stupid, but if you really think about it, we have a limited time on Earth and we can't do everything at once, so why revisit the same game for the 5th time when you can move on to something brand new and get a completely original experience out of it? We're going to be discussing that today, so let's not waste any time. Quickly, I want to shout out my channel members. Thank you guys for supporting the channel, and let's go ahead and begin. Complacency is defined as a feeling of contentment or self-satisfaction, especially when coupled with an unawareness of danger, trouble, or controversy. In other words, it's when you stick to what you know even if it results in zero progress or growth as an individual. Now, I'm a decently complacent person. I like my schedule to not be very busy. I like to not be overwhelmed during the week, and I like to be at least familiar with everything I'm doing. However, I've been making steps in my life to become less complacent because even though it's comfortable, it's not truly better for me. I know, I'm getting ready to apply this to video games, don't worry. It's very possible to play video games in a complacent way. Now, there's nothing wrong with that because gaming is just supposed to be entertainment, but personally, I didn't want to keep playing the same games over and over. Now, yes, there still are games that I will keep going back to, usually games that don't have an ending per se. Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 2 is still my go-to multiplayer shooter, despite the game being almost a decade old. And recently, I also got back into MLB The Show, which, yeah, I get it, it's a slop sports game, but it is still fun slop at the very least. But even if I still continuously play a handful of titles, it's undeniable that I've been mostly playing games that are completely new to me. And the reason for that is that I want to try and avoid the comfort zone. I don't want to be complacent and stick to the games I already have. I want to keep trying out new things in order to discover more and more games that I love. Here's the thing. Playing new games can get exhausting. Unlike the games you already know you like, you are not guaranteed to have a good time. However, I consider that a risk worth taking if it means the possibility of discovering something amazing. If I never went outside my comfort zone, I never would have played games like God of War, Metroid Prime, Hollow Knight, Okami. Random selection, I know, but since I took the chance, I now love every single one of these games. However, the conversation of whether or not you should replay your favorite games is much more complicated than just this. So let's talk about money. Sure, playing games that are completely new to you is the best because you're getting a new experience, but that original experience typically isn't free, and you can thank Nintendo for that. So if you're enjoying the games you already own, is it really worth it to pay to play something different? For a lot of consumers, no. They're just gonna stick to what they have because they're not bored of it. And I'm no macroeconomist, but it seems like no matter what region you're in, video games are getting more and more unaffordable. One of my favorite ways to gain access to a ton of different games without having to pay for all of them is to use Steam family sharing. Basically, in short, me and some of my friends linked our Steam library so that whenever one of us buys a game, the rest of us can play it free of charge. It is an insanely pro-consumer feature, and one of the many reasons why Steam is the best platform for digital games. And another thing you can do is buy Game Pass, whether you're on Xbox or PC. However, I'm really not a fan of subscription services, but that's just me. It's still good for what it is. Even if there are ways to save money on new games, it is still always going to be cheaper to just stick to what you have. And I think that right there is the best argument for replaying games you already know and love. Especially when you combine the fact that if you don't end up enjoying the time you spent on a new game, you wasted not just your money but also your time. And speaking of time, let's move on to talking about exactly that. Time is money, at least that's how the saying goes. So when you spend money on a game and end up not liking it, not only did you waste the money you spent on the product, you also wasted your time, which could have been used in a more productive way. However, there is another side to this coin. It is true that playing a game you don't enjoy is almost always a waste of your time, but is playing the same game over and over again also a waste of time? Because other than a comfortable distraction from real life for an hour or two, you don't really get anything out of it because, well, it's the same experience you've already had. It's nothing new. It all comes down to what you want out of your video games. Do you want to learn something from every new experience you have, like me? Or do you just want to relax and indulge in something that you know will keep you entertained for a couple hours? There's no right or wrong way to play video games, and I know that's the boring answer, but it's the truth. The way you play video games is simply up to what you think is best for your life. Do you consider it valuable to discover new experiences, or do you just want to be entertained? Of course, you will have a lot of people that will tell you, well, video games is already a waste of time. It's inherently one. But I disagree with that. I don't think gaming is inherently a waste of time. Although I guess if you're judging me by my background, you can tell I'm biased. But you can learn things from video games all the time, just like any other form of art. You can learn problem solving, you can learn teamwork skills, you can learn about a specific subject, or you can learn the perspectives of other people. But again, it really comes down to something that my consumer math teacher used to say. You can do anything you want with your money or time, you just can't do everything at once. Recently, I've had a lot to do and I've had to make a lot of tough decisions, and if you're feeling the same way, you need to ask yourself, what do I value most? And maybe that can help you sort out your gaming habits. The main reason I've been having this topic on my mind is because there are too many video games out there nowadays. I want to play every amazing video game out there, but obviously that just isn't realistic. A lot of these games take 50 or more hours to complete, and they're definitely not cheap to buy either. If you want my opinion on when it's a good time to replay a video game, I would say once you start to forget about half of the experience of the game, because at that point, at least you get to reinvigorize those amazing experiences you've had with it. If you replay the same game too often though, I just think you could use your time better. Nowadays, I usually replay about 3 to 5 games per year. Obviously, some video games are more replayable than others, so if you go back to one game more than you do the other, that's okay. As always, let me know in the comments how you feel about replaying your favorite video games. Just wanted to get something out there that's at least thought-provoking for you guys. It's been a bit slow on the channel, I know. I'll get back into the swing of things though. Anyway, thanks for stopping by.